Welcome to Reputation Revolution. This is the podcast where we help individuals like you to establish your voice in the marketplace, enhance the credibility of that voice, extend the reach of your story and your message, and finally, extract value from your efforts in building a meaningful personal brand that's both recognized and respected. Now, on with the show.
Welcome back to the Reputation Revolution, episode 222. My name is Trevor. Great to have your company. Now, a little bit of a different episode today. It's going to be a short one. It's going to be a solo episode featuring my good self. And it's going to be what it is I'm following on from last week's episode, which was 221, and it was the kickoff of season 6 of the Reputation Revolution show. And last week we had a bit of a virtual roundtable discussion with myself, Sam Osborne, who is a leading brand strategist, and Brendan Keogh, who is a marketer and a coach who helps thought leaders clarify their message and create content that gets results. So that's Sam and Brendan and myself. And what we did was we chatted and dissected and debated the theme business brand versus personal brand, and which one should you focus on. And we covered a lot of territory. We covered the concept of branding and the critical role it plays. We discussed the importance of values, personality, and consistency in building trust, which of course trust is an important part of branding. We also looked at examples of personal brands who have built significantly sized businesses, the role reputation plays in personal branding, and also because, when we're talking about should you be promoting your personal brand versus your business brand, a lot of times that's because, we're talking to business owners and entrepreneurs, but sometimes you have leaders of practice areas within a larger professional services firm, for example. So how should they approach personal branding? We covered that. And Sam, who is a long-time strategic brand guy, he walked us through brand architecture and when it's important to build a house of brands. So yes, we looked at business brand versus personal brand, but we did dissect the concept of branding a lot more. So, if you're building a business enterprise around your personal brand and you're wondering whether or not you need to put a bit of effort into the marketing of your associated business entity as well as your personal brand, then I think you'll get a lot of value out of episode 221. Now, that's just a prelude to what we're going to be covering in this episode, because I've had a lot of deeper thought on this. This is should you focus your efforts on building your personal brand or your business brand? This is a hot topic for people running their own businesses, especially when they are the business and everything revolves around their professional profile and reputation. And while there's no cut and dried answer, it's really good to be aware, I reckon, of the various factors that may come into play when confronted with this challenge, and these factors may impact your decision which way to go. So as I said, I've gone a lot deeper. I've had a lot more deeper thought in this. I've written an article on the PR Warrior blog, and I just wanted to bring it to life a little bit and really start zeroing in, because this is a question that I do get asked a lot, and that is personal brand or business brand, which one should I focus on? So I've been digging into this topic for a while, as I said, and over the years I've advised countless individuals, they're entrepreneurs, professional experts, thought leaders, on both their personal and their business brands. And after talking with Sam and Brendan the other day and just really having some deep reflection on this topic, based on my experience and what I've read as well, I've come to a few conclusions, and these conclusions I'd like to chat about today. As a rule, I tend to veer towards the idea of building your personal brand first. And the reason for this is there is an abundance of opportunities that come with being a leading influential voice in today's reputation economy. I can't underscore that enough. There are so many opportunities and benefits that come with having a high profile, a strong reputation, a credible personal brand in the marketplace. So having that strong profile and reputation can play out in a number of areas of both business and professional life. And here are some of the reasons why it can potentially help you. So a strong profile can help attract customers and clients to your business, and hopefully in turn leading to increased leads and sales. This is particularly the case in B2B, business to business, where the know, like, trust factor is absolutely critical. It can help you, a good personal brand can help you pique the interest of possible employees. So if you're running a small business and you're wanting to build an employer brand, then you being the leader, that plays a critical role in what's your profile and brand like. And this is no small thing, because we have a raging war for talent at the moment. It's a part of business life today. So having an employer brand is really important, but knowing where the leader fits with their personal brand can play a big role, particularly with smaller businesses. A strong personal brand can help you build an army of allies, champions, advocates, enthusiasts of what it is you do and what you stand for. And in turn, this can help create word of mouth and hopefully positive word of mouth buzz for you and your business. It can help you secure interesting opportunities with third parties. I'm talking here business partnerships, project collaborations, maybe advisory roles. So if you have got that strong personal brand, you're credible in the marketplace, you're seen as a thought leader, then opportunities do come to you. And that's what I was alluding to earlier. There are abundance of opportunities today in the reputation economy. A strong brand will help you capture the media's interest. And now again, this leads to a lot of different opportunities for earned media exposure. So this could be whether it's through, being asked to do an opinion piece for a newspaper or your industry trade journal or someone else's blog, can extend to podcast interviews where you're the guest being interviewed, and also speaking gigs. Getting up on stage and speaking is earned media as far as I'm concerned. And all of these things can go a long way to helping to continue to build one's profile. So, never underestimate the power of having a strong brand in the first place, then helps you build earned media, which builds you an even stronger brand. So always having it in the back of your mind that earned media certainly comes to those with a stronger profile and reputation in the marketplace. And finally, if you are working for someone else in a bigger organisation, then having a strong personal brand can and might gain the attention of recruiters in your industry, or maybe put you in the frame for internal promotions in your organisation. So there are a number of things that having a strong personal brand can help attract clients and customers, pique the interest of potential employees, build an army or a base of champions and fans of your work and what it is you do. Might help you secure interesting opportunities with third parties, business partnerships, collaborations, etc. It might help you, a strong brand, professional brand, help you continue to build your profile through earned media and also gain the attention of recruiters if you are an employee. All right, so in short, I strongly believe that building a professional personal brand for all the right reasons, one that is recognised and respected, a thought leader brand, it's really a business asset that will continue to pay dividends over the long haul. That said, if you run your own business, and particularly one that you want to grow and maybe eventually sell, then building its brand is also imperative. So building the business brand. Now, I don't want to go into too much detail on that right now because that will take us into a whole new area. I just want to lay out a few examples, though, of people who have built really strong and powerful personal brands in their own right, and how things have played out for them against the backdrop of the personal brand versus business brand argument. So the examples I'm going to cover are Gary Vaynerchuk, Brian Clark, Cindy Gallup, and Michael Hyatt. 4 very different types of people, 4 very different personal brands, and how their personal brand has played out in light of business, because they all run businesses. So this, I felt, was a good way. I could talk I could talk theory all day, but I'm not really a theory guy. I like seeing it in practice, joining the dots, and then picking apart the threads just to see, okay, well, why is this working for this person and this person's doing it in a different way? And whether or not it's planned or not is immaterial. The fact is, it's happened. All right, so let me go through these 4 examples, and I urge you, if you're interested in taking this a bit further, go in and check them out. Check some of these people out. Look at them on social, look at their content, do a Google search and see what interviews and the things that they're doing. But most of all, look behind the scenes of their business as well. So number 1 is Gary Vaynerchuk. Now, Gary has gone from personal brand to multiple business brands. Really hard to do, particularly if you haven't got that personal brand in the first place. So, as I stated earlier, I sit firmly in the camp of personal brand first for all the reasons that I've already outlined. And if nothing else, because there are opportunities that come with being well known and respected in the marketplace. So let's just tick that box. You're not going to move me from that argument. I think Gary Vaynerchuk is someone who's done this very, very successfully. Now, like him or not, and he does polarize opinions, but just put that to one side for the moment. Vaynerchuk's name opens doors. There's no question about it. He has a powerful personal brand, but of course it wasn't always that way. He's built it from the ground up. Back in the early days of YouTube and social media, Vaynerchuk was literally a nobody, just one of many, many, many would-be entrepreneurs plying their trade in obscurity. So after grabbing the reins of his father's local New Jersey liquor store, it was named Shoppers Discount Liquors at the time, but it's now called Wine Library. He grew it from 3 million to 60 million in annual sales during his tenure. And during his time at Wine Library, Vaynerchuk started, and a lot of people see Gary Vaynerchuk now, but they might not know the backstory, which I think is fascinating and really interesting, and just goes to show that we all start from ground zero at some point in time. Vaynerchuk started one of the first long-form episodic video shows on YouTube back in 2006, and it was called Wine Library TV. It's still up there, you can go and check it out. He produced an episode almost every day for 5 years, and this eventually landed him appearances on national TV with everyone from Ellen, as everyone knows her, and Conan O'Brien. And look, he was on every, CNBC and all the big news channels as well. So the key there is he took action, but he did an episode every single day. Like, he was prolific. It was crazy. So what he did was, that was the starting point, but then he continued to elevate his profile in many different ways. He had books, he had earned media, he had speaking, he was social media like a demon. Every new social channel he was out on. Twitter was big for him, Snapchat was big for him. I'm tipping probably TikTok is big for him now. He did everything, and he did it pretty well right, and he fronted up and he continued to deliver value. This grew his profile very big, sold books, did everything, right? Then he set about leveraging his personal brand by setting up a new social media agency business called VaynerMedia, which is still there today. I just want to read you something off Gary Vaynerchuk's own website. But the key here is he had a big name and then he started VaynerMedia, okay? But I'll just read this little bit from his website. In 2009, after walking away from Wine Library TV, Gary and his brother AJ, who had recently graduated from college, founded VaynerMedia, an agency focused on helping large brands tell their stories on social media. Securing early clients like the New York Jets and the NHL allowed them to scale at a rapid pace, outgrowing 3 offices and scaling to over 500 employees in just 6 years. VaynerMedia now represents Fortune 500 clients like General Electric, InBev and PepsiCo, and recently announced their move to Hudson Yards, Manhattan's hotly anticipated multi-billion-dollar development. This is me talking now. By the time he set up his own agency, Gary Vaynerchuk's name, his personal brand, was really up in lights, right? So he had broad recognition and a very strong reputation. Today, he's just got a bulging portfolio of businesses, but it was VaynerMedia that kicked everything off post-wine library. So my take, business brand or personal brand when it comes to Gary Vaynerchuk, I can say with utter confidence that had Gary Vaynerchuk's profile not been as big as it was at the time, there is no way VaynerMedia would have launched in the way that it did. And it did launch in a big way. It had big name clients. It had industry buzz. It had instant credibility because Gary's name was attached to it. So in Vaynerchuk's case, his personal brand acted as the vanguard. His various business interests, and as I said, he's got a plethora of them, VaynerMedia included, have all benefited from his name and influence, and many of them now are paving their own way to branding success. So in this case, personal brand first, build it, make it big, leverage that into business brands that can then pave their own way to branding success. Okay, so that's Gary Vaynerchuk. Number 2, I want to look at a guy called Brian Clark. Brian Clark is building, I think, the way he's doing, he's building his personal and business brands in tandem. Let me tell Brian's story. So Brian has established and sold several 8-figure businesses, including Studio Press and Rainmaker Digital. He is the founder, probably best known as the founder of Copyblogger. It was one of the, and still is, it was one of the very early, let's call it a content marketing blog, but that would be underselling it. But, you know, if you want to know anything about content marketing and writing for an audience, then Copyblogger is it. But it's still around. But in the early days, that's when it started. Brian was not known. Now he's also the founder of a newsletter called Further. It's about midlife personal growth. It's called Further, further.net. And Unemployable. This is an educational community that provides strategies for freelancers and solopreneurs. He's also the co-founder of Copyblogger's content marketing and SEO agency. So a busy man, but of course he's also had other businesses, Studio Press and Rainmaker Digital, which he has sold. Notice that none of those have got his name attached to them. I think what you can safely say that in the digital entrepreneurial world, Brian Clark is the real deal. He's big time. He's a legit player with consistent runs on the board, both in terms of just content marketing and that in his area, but also digital entrepreneurship and building businesses that are largely digital first businesses. Now, it's really interesting. Brian is not a fan of personal branding. And this is his quote: "I never concern myself with my personal brand. It's far better to build something bigger than yourself. Then your personal brand will take care of itself." Interesting. Now, I don't disagree with Brian, by the way, on this point, but he's a content marketing pioneer. He's all about consistently delivering value to a defined audience, which to me is a key part of personal branding. So I'm not going to get into semantics there, but you know, because he is such a dynamic content creator, he's already doing, and it's under his name when he's writing and you know, doing podcasting. That's also a key part of personal branding. But I digress. What's of more interest to me is Brian Clark's philosophy of building something bigger than oneself. That's what interests me. In doing this, you're creating something, a business entity, for example, that becomes its own brand. And this is what Brian has been able to do over the journey. He's been able to sell several of his businesses for decent payouts, but then he's been able to walk away from them. Now, worth noting, in Brian Clark's case, his personal brand has grown organically, I think, in tandem with his business brands. So this in turn has enabled him to establish new ventures quickly because of his elevated profile and his reputation, his personal brand. Plus the fact he's been able to build up a strong and devoted audience through his content. So he's built his brand, he's elevated that, you know, he gets interviewed, he's got a lot of earned media out there on podcasts, etc. But he's also, because he's been a good content creator over the journey, he's built up a very big audience through what he's been publishing and the value that he's delivered. So while the businesses that Brian was a partner in no doubt have benefited from his status within the industry, they became strong enough business brands to stand alone. And from that perspective, no doubt they were seen as ideal acquisitions for the companies that bought them. I'm talking mainly Studio Press and Rainmaker Digital. They got bought. And again, Brian was able to walk away from those. So they were both strong brands, but Brian had a personal brand running in tandem. So business brand or personal brand with Brian Clark. This is my take. 2 key takeaways from his story. A, if you create something of note that's bigger than yourself, then invariably your personal brand will benefit. Or as Brian likes to say, your personal brand will work itself out just fine. I want to emphasise, however, that content marketing is a critical factor and plays a major role here. Just because you're a founder and a head of a company that's growing, if you don't put yourself out into the spotlight, then you won't build that personal brand. So yes, your brand will look after itself, but if you do content and create content and be out there and do speaking, etc., that's the personal branding side. So that's how they work in tandem. Now, if your goal is to grow and sell a business, then of course building the business brand more so, or at least equally to your own personal brand, is an absolute must. So if you were thinking in terms of maybe one day you want to sell it, you don't want your name as the name of the business. It's not just about you, but you're going to build something that might have employees, who knows, but something you'll be able to sell at some point. Then yes, you need to be really focusing on that business brand. But as we just saw, while you're doing that, one way to build a business brand is to get out there and create content and to be speaking and being in the media and all sorts of things, which is personal branding. And you're building a personal brand at the same time. That's a really good example of how the two elements, business and personal brand, can work in concert. All right, example number three is Cindy Gallop. I will put Cindy in the personal brand-based business. That's what I think she is, looking at it from the outside. Cindy pitches herself, and I love this, I really do. She pitches herself as the Michael Bay of business because she likes to blow shit up. How good is that as a tagline? Cindy describes herself as a brand and business innovator, consultant, coach, and keynote speaker, available to work with anybody who wants to change the game in their particular sector. She says, "Come to me for radical, innovative, groundbreaking, transformative. I don't do status quo." So you kind of know where you're standing with Cindy Gallop. I think Cindy is your classic personal brand-based business. She is the business. That doesn't mean she hasn't got other businesses or projects on the side. For example, she's the founder and CEO of MakeLoveNotPorn.tv, which she bills as the world's first user-generated, human-curated social sex video sharing platform. So she is a founder of that business. But she is the speaker, she is the consultant, she is the coach, she is the influencer available for suitable partnerships. She is the brand. So business brand or personal brand with Cindy Gallop. Well, my take is we're seeing more of this type of business model today, and it's one that we do talk a lot about here on the Reputation Revolution show because it's such a big growth trend. And this is where credible individuals who do build a strong personal brand and then they grow a portfolio of business around it. So think about that. Let's just take a step back. You grow your brand, you are the business, and then you grow a portfolio of either businesses or income streams around that. So like with Cindy, speaker, consultant, coach, maybe an influencer for partnerships, maybe an advisor on boards, but she is the brand. A lot of people are now adopting that personal brand-based business model. And then you've got others like New York's Kat Norton. She operates under a personal brand handle that effectively serves as both a business and a nickname. Kat is known as Miss Excel, and she boasts 840,000 plus followers on TikTok, as well as 610,000 followers on Instagram. She teaches Microsoft Excel to individuals, businesses, and educational institutions through her line of online courses and customised group training. Alrighty, and finally, we have Michael Hyatt and Full Focus, from personal brand to business brand. This is a really interesting story, and as I was going through this and writing this post and getting ready for this podcast, Michael's story came into play. So this is really fresh and brand new. So this is kind of a counterbalance to the examples above, I think. It's a case study of Michael Hyatt, who's a US businessman turned blogger. And he's currently making that transition from personal to business brand. Let me tell his story. So Hyatt came to prominence, I think it was around 2012, when he released his book Platform, Get Noticed in a Noisy World. And it was a big hit, and it became a bit of a Bible of personal branding at the time. So we're going back 10 years. In those days, Hyatt's business was very much about him. He was the brand, like Cindy Gallop. He was the speaker, the podcaster, the blogger, the author. Then the name Michael Hyatt and Company, and I'm going back on my recollections here, but then over the years, the name Michael Hyatt and Company became a little bit more prominent on his website. Michael was still integral to the business, no doubt, but it was obvious that it was becoming a bigger operation and more than just Michael. So, for example, his daughter Megan Hyatt Miller also started taking centre stage a bit more around about this time. Now, more recently, Michael Hyatt and Company has become Full Focus. That's the name of the business. It's still a performance coaching company, but now has a grander vision, and it's backed by a growing team. And what Michael Hyatt says about the change, he said, at some point I crossed the line where it was no longer about me, it's about us. So Hyatt's recent transition, I think, really puts perspective around the question of personal brand versus business brand. That said, we've still got to look back at this. His personal brand is well established, and no doubt he'll continue to sustain it in the marketplace through the content that he creates and maybe the books and stuff. It's just that these days he'll be leveraging it for the benefit of his rebranded business, Full Focus. And I love this quote from Michael Hyatt. I think it sums up things nicely. And he says, if you want to build a company fast, do it on a foundation of a personal brand. If you want to build a company to last a long time, don't do that. So as you can see from these 4 examples of Gary Vaynerchuk, Brian Clark, Michael Hyatt and Cindy Gallop, and there's a million others out there, what you can see, there's no real right or wrong, just what's right for you and your business and your future. And of course, we've got to also accept that people evolve, as do businesses. So where you start might not be where you end up, as Michael Hyatt has found out. Things invariably change. The key is to have purpose and direction and be flexible enough to change tack if and when that's required. So I hope you've got a bit out of that in terms of should you be focusing on building your personal brand or business brand. There's 4 examples to get you thinking. Hit me up. I'm on Twitter at Trevor Young. Do connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm Trevor Young there, very easy to find. The blog is prwarrior.com. The podcast, as you know, is Reputation Revolution, which is also a newsletter, by the way, reputationrevolution.substack.com. So keep in touch. Love to hear your thoughts on this topic. I know it's a big one, and good luck with it all.
The reputation economy is here. The world today needs more genuine, credible experts and leaders to stand up and share their experience, their wisdom, their stories and ideas. Are you in?